Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors just showed their hand. As in recent weeks, the team has been playing really well. Leading into this trade deadline, the Raptors have been checking in on some win now pieces, and this has been a part of veterans coming back, actual experienced NBA role players really showing out for the Toronto Raptors in these games. But now things have changed, and the rotations changed in yesterday's game. Chris Boucher, Kelly Olynyk didn't see the floor, and even more details came out today, revealing that the Toronto Raptors had a trade on the table with the LA Clippers before they ended up making that PJ Tucker trade with the Utah Jazz. So we're going to discuss everything that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team. Now we have a much better idea after there were some legitimate talks or amongst the fan base about how, hey, maybe they don't tank. Maybe they do try to do a win now move. And this doesn't mean, especially a guy like Brandon Ingram, of course, De'Aaron Fox was far-fetched anyways, but it doesn't mean that's officially off the table, but the Raptors are clearly going in that youth movement route, and we're diving into all that. So we'll break down this most recent game, this trade that leaked between the the LA Clippers and the Toronto Raptors, and what we can expect from the Toronto Raptors in the coming days. But before we dive into that, folks, again, we're delivering all of the latest Toronto Raptors news, reports, rumors, whatever it is, you're getting it here on Raptors Digest. So if you are a part of the 67% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, I got that on the side there now, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team. But let's dive into it because, again, this team was on a heater. This team was cooking. We were all amped up with especially the level of play from guys like Chris Boucher, different guys than Bruce Brown out there in the lineup. But last night, things changed. And it wasn't a matter of these veteran guys just falling off of a heater. We know Chris Boucher, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, they're all effective role players out there in the NBA. And it's the reason why I've been so happy with this recent run. Not necessarily because I'm bullish on Bruce Brown being the wing player of the future for the Toronto Raptors, even though I do like him as a basketball player. We know what the direction of this team is. It's youth, it's rebuilding, it's all of those types of things. But we got to see this team actually unlocked a little bit. The core group of this squad, even without Immanuel Quickley, get to play with some actual NBA experienced guys. And it was a good product. Is it NBA championship winning product? No. That's why this team is trying to, go that youth movement, try to get those superstars out there in the NBA draft, all of those types of things, and develop some of the younger players to be, have potentially higher upside than some of the vets that we have right now. But we got to see how good this team was, and frankly, it was exciting. And if this team could easily make that push to the play-in, easily make that push out there in the Eastern Conference, there's nothing wrong with this current amalgamation roster. But once we dealt away Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby last year, we went that route of the rebuild. And then against the Bulls last night, the hand was clearly shown because, the team lost 122 to 106, but you see the minutes. You see Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher getting 0 minutes in those games. And then also Bruce Brown, who played 17 minutes, but that dude has been getting serious run. He wasn't really featured in the offense a ton in this game. And you can see he looks a little bit checked out, which makes sense because likely is going to get dealt, likely is going to get traded. But he was getting like 22, 25 minutes per night there, down to 17. And we saw a lot more Jakob Poeltl. We saw some more of the young guys. Orlando Robinson out there, get that run, get that extended sort of stretch of run. Gradey Dick also has been, foul trouble has been a part of it, but hasn't been featured as much in terms of rotation minutes and things along those lines. And he got some extra run in this game tonight as well. So the minutes went back to the youngsters. And of course, what happens when you give minutes to young players in the NBA? Your team generally loses. So that's what happened against the Chicago Bulls. The directives were down there. And then, all this stuff, which makes sense. Masai Ujiri's got to feature the vets. It was the right move. It's a smart strategy. And maybe you're saying you're doing it a little bit too early because you're showing your hand too quick to these teams you're trying to make trades with and things as such. But no. This team is going that youth movement. We had a bunch of wins. People are scared about the tank getting too out of hand. The Jazz, these types of teams that we're competing with getting too out of reach. Well, losing's back on the table, folks. Those tanks, those L's, they're going to be piled up toward the end of this season. We saw it tonight's game, and that's just kind of what we expect going into this year. So no shock, no surprises there out there on that front. And one thing regarding Chris Boucher, and one reason he probably was a DNP rather than just kind of minutes dialed back a little bit. I mean, Mobo is still out there in the G League. Jamison Battle's still out there in the G League. There's a lot of guys that can be coming up and are going to be getting minutes to close out the second half of this season. But we did have some news. And one thing first, Darko Rajaković, he wasn't injured. Basically, Chris Boucher was available in this game. He is the ultimate pro. I just wanted to give more room for others, specifically the young guys. Chris Boucher is the ultimate pro. So that's what Darko Rajaković had to say about Chris Boucher out there in the post-game presser. It wasn't, he's injured or there was something going on. That saying he's the ultimate pro, and Darko Rajaković has been pretty clear in terms of everything we've heard, from the outside looking in, of course, not in the locker room every day, but everything we've heard, Darko has really good communication, which wasn't the case with Nick Nurse and some of the players. So it seems like he probably told Chris Boucher, hey, you're not getting any run tonight. And Boucher just understood the situation because Chris Boucher is a steady vet. He's a good guy, and Darko gave some high praise out there for Chris Boucher. So that's that. But more insights in terms of why Boucher was likely DNP'd rather than, limited minutes or the stuff that we saw with Bruce Brown. Well, because news came out also today, that after attempting to land Chris Boucher from the Raptors, the Clippers go out and get Drew Eubanks and backup big man to be a backup big man behind Zubac. The big takeaway from this trade is the Clippers create trade exceptions that they can use and are below the tax. So basically, this is coming from Brett Siegel. If you weren't watching today, the LA Clippers did make a trade that sent away PJ Tucker as well as Mo Bamba to the Utah Jazz. And in return, they opened up some cap space, got Drew Eubanks, former Toronto Raptor there for a second, was in that Goran Dragic trade. But they acquired him as a backup big. But, the Raptors being named in a report like this, once a deal goes down, means they were at least very close on trade talks. It wasn't one of those speculation. It wasn't one of those, hey, Masai Ujiri's just reaching out to see how you value your guys or stuff like that. It was very much a possibility that Chris Boucher was going to the LA Clippers probably today if that deal didn't go down with the Utah Jazz. And interested to see, I'm sure, that was at a crazy return, a couple second round picks, but we'll see what Chris Boucher's trade value is here now on this point. And it sucks because Boucher is such a likable guy, he's such a likable player, and he's been so good for the Toronto Raptors this season. It does hurt to see that he'll likely be gone from this team, but it does make sense with the whole vision, with everything that has been told to us by the front office to start off this year. And Toronto Raptors are entering that rebuild. They don't want to pay Chris Boucher. They don't want to do all this. And Jonathan Mobo is one of those forwards of the future. Jamison Battle, maybe whether they're here long-term or not, you want to develop those young guys and see what you have in those young players. And then if you have players like, there's a lot of guys on this list, right? You have a lot of guys on this list in regards to, Davion Mitchell, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, Chris Boucher, and of course you want some vets out here on the roster. So I don't think everyone's going to get traded. We still have Jakob Poeltl, we have Garrett Temple, we have some grown-ups out there in the locker room, but it's tough to develop guys when you have vets out there getting minutes. Now, of course, it leads to more wins, so that's something you gotta take into account. So we can't have young guys out there forever, but young guys get older, they get experience, and that's how things play. So Masai Ujiri showed us that we are going down the rebuilding route. No, let's write off the De'Aaron Foxes. Probably we'll see what happens to the Brandon Ingrams because, again, he's dealing with some injuries right now, so he might not affect the tank for just this season, and we'll see how things shake out. But a couple of things on this game. Jacoby Walter looked great. 3-7, 1 of 3 from the three-point line, but had 14 points. Looked good. Love to see his development, him doing some stuff out there. RJ Barrett needs to learn how to shoot free throws, man. He needs to learn how to shoot free throws. I don't know what happened. He was shooting really well the second half of last year once he was traded to the Toronto Raptors, but that's fairly frustrating. Scottie Barnes going to get his numbers 20, 10, and 5. This is just an ugly game to the Chicago Bulls, so I'm not stressing. And my camera's cutting out as I start yapping about this. I don't. Not much excitement there in this one. So let me know what you guys think about this game, the situation with the Toronto Raptors. You guys are the best to make us far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.